Exactly.
When you are in the middle of a war, you really don't have time to stop and do too much reading about stuff that ain't relevant to the war. In other words, this conversation is more about priorities than it is about anything else. It's more about priorities. Right now, in 2013, in the situation that we are in, what should be our priorities? Okay? We have institution building on the table. We got spirituality on the table. We got historical study on the table. Okay? We got all types of things on the table. What should be the priority? And when you look at priorities, especially for people who are under siege, reading books about what you used to be 5,000 years ago is not a priority. Our children are looking for food, clothing, and shelter and protection. One of the reasons why Mr. Garvey with his Universal Negro Improvement Association, or Mr. Muhammad with his Nation of Islam, or Noble Drew with his More Science Temples of America, or even if you look at the Black Hebrews or the Black Panther Party of yesterday, you'll see with all of them, they met the young people's needs as a prerequisite to getting their attention. When you walk up to a young person who's under siege, the first thing they're waiting to hear from you is what is going to come out this brother's mouth that can help me. And if all we can tell them is that they need to study their history when they facing 5 to 10 years in prison, that ain't got nothing to do with where they going right now. If a brother ain't got a place to sleep at night and all you can give him is some consciousness, he's going to tell you to keep it. We got to get our priorities in order and stop ignoring the obvious. See, the problem is we're living in denial. People are walking around saying, why don't the young people want to study their history? Why don't the young people want to come to study group? Why don't the young people want to do this and find out about... Because they have more important things going on in their life right now, and what you're bringing them does not in any way, shape, or form address their immediate issues. And then there's one other point I want to raise on that, good brothers, and that is this. When you give any type of, we want to call, I'm going to use, for lack of a better word, the religious term, evangelization. When you go out and you give, as the Muslims would say, a dawah to people, where you try to invite them to Islam, or you try to invite them to Christianity, or invite them to the Kingdom Hall, or even if you try to invite them to the Nation of Islam or the Garvey movement or any political religious order, your approach to recruitment has to be scientific. It has to be scientific. And I think one of our faults as a conscious community, whatever that means, is that we don't have a scientific approach to recruiting our youth into the fold. We simply want them to listen to us because we're giving them the truth. That's not enough anymore. You must be scientific. Look at the Jehovah's Witnesses. They are scientific. They have a protocol for bringing new people in that is almost failure-proof because they have the best recruiting process in the world. We need the same type of thing, a scientific recruiting process. But on top of that, I want to say this. We got to be careful how we invite our youth to consciousness. What I'm saying is I've seen brothers and sisters attempt to invite youth to consciousness, and instead they turned them off of the consciousness because they were not either, number one, able to answer the questions that the youth put forward. Let's understand something. A lot of these brothers and sisters out here doing the wrong thing are extremely intelligent. They ain't got no damn common sense, but they're extremely intelligent. If you're going to come to one of them with some black consciousness, assuming that they don't know a little bit on their own, you might get yourself embarrassed in front of a bunch of children because all of them are not politically uneducated. That's rule number one. Make sure you know what you claim you know, or you'll have to get embarrassed by a 12 or 13-year-old. I've seen it happen to people before. So number one, we got to stop assuming that they don't know anything. That's number one. You got to be able to answer their questions, or they're going to lose faith in you. Think about it now. You're standing around 10 brothers, 15, 16, 17 years old. One of them is beginning to debate you on your position. The others are listening because they don't know which way to go, so they want to listen to see who wins out.
Right. But they're rolling with the dude.
He was incorrect.
But
guess what?
Right.
His insight was deeper than yours. So he was able to make all them youth doubt the truth that you brought. As a result, they never considered looking at black consciousness ever again because you lost a conversation with somebody young enough to be your son. So we got to make sure we can answer that question. Number two, we got to be able to deal with their disrespectful reactions without turning them off. If you a thin-skinned brother, if you got an ego that you can't control, if you're one of those people who think that the youth should never get disrespectful, even though they shouldn't, they're going to because they don't really have a reason to respect us anymore because we don't do anything for them. You got to be able to control your temper because they are going to try you. Some of them are going to get outright disrespectful. That's number two. And number three, the most important thing is you have to make sure you do not sell them a pessimistic view of the future. Because if you sell the youth a pessimistic view of the future, do you know what you just done? You just made them give up on their damn self. And some of us, when we teach white supremacy, we don't do it in a way that lets the youth know that even though they're doing this to our people, we can overcome this bullshit. Some of us don't do that. Some of us teach white supremacy and all this other stuff in such a way that it makes the youth throw up their hands and say, so why should I even bother going to school? Why should I even bother getting my diploma? Why should I even bother stop selling drugs? Why should I even bother stop smoking weed all day? Why should I even bother stop chasing all these girls? We got to be careful that when we teach them the reality of our racial situation, that we do it with a motivational energy so at the end of the conversation, they are enthusiastic about making some change in their life and in their community. But a lot of us do it in a pessimistic way. So by the time we're done with the youth conversation, we'd have made them give up on their whole life.